glad just to be an also-ran behind the champion of lying, pomposity, smugness, and groupthink, which is Tucker Carlson. I'm Mel McGinnis with today's edition of the Sophie Scholl Monologue. I met a German exchange student. She is in Faulkner. She told about life in Germany. And I asked the question, do you know who Sophie Scholl is? She nailed it. She has a book. She told me about her, and I was blessed to know that teenagers like her know who Sophie Scholl is. See, Sophie Scholl was guilty of the First Amendment. Now, I know Germany doesn't have the First Amendment like we do, but it was in the 1930s when basically the freedom of the press and other freedoms were being removed from the German people by the totalitarian leftist regime of the Nazis, Hitler and what he did. So Sophie and her friends wrote through the White Rose Resistance attacks or criticisms of the government. Very explicit. And once they were caught by the Nazis, they weren't merely arrested, but executed. There was a brave young woman in her 20s, a life yet to live, but she saw that as so significant in her faith being lived out like that she risked it all and paid the price. The reason why I bring this up is a man by the name of Steve Baker. Hardly anybody knows who he is. He was a reporter who happened to be at the Capitol on January 6th. It just so happens that the FBI is after him. So much so that they put him in wrist and leg irons. They told him, now when we come, just dress in t-shirt and shorts and flip-flops. Steve said, no, I'm dressing in a suit. He dressed up for that occasion and was taken to the place the FBI had him go to and charged him with misdemeanors. You see, his narrative doesn't fit the narrative we've been hearing. I don't know all what he has, but he said, in case I get suicidal, I have my work backed up. So it is in a secure location. If something along the lines of suicide happens to him. We've heard that before, haven't we? Now, Steve Baker is guilty of the First Amendment. It's interesting to see what our government's beginning to do with that very basic right. Limit it. You know, the government may say, oh, Steve, you're way off the mark. This isn't what happened. But that's freedom of the press. And we're seeing that be encroached. Glenn Beck on Blaze Network has been talking about this issue very much. And I couldn't help but notice one of the articles on the Blaze was guilty of the First Amendment. That's where the left is taking us. That's where those who are totalitarian are leading us to. They really don't want the freedom of the press. They don't want a narrative that opposes theirs. Can I say that Steve Baker's reporting is 100% accurate? I don't know. But let him speak. They say he's conservative. From what I understand, he's more libertarian. He simply wants to do a job and get to the bottom of questions that remain about that very day. It's interesting. I just saw a headline saying that the government is upping their arrests of those who were there on January 6th. They just keep at it. Now, were there those who destroyed property? Yes, they should be put in jail. They should pay the price, but there are others who are really political prisoners. And that needs to be remedied. And I think Steve Baker is one of those who wants to get to the truth, but the government wants to keep his mouth shut. The totalitarianism on the left is really up for election coming up in 2024. We better be prepared. We need to speak for freedom, liberty, freedom of the press. We just can't take it for granted anymore. Well, unlike Tony Kornheiser of Pardon the Interruption, I cannot promise you that I'll do better the next time. And unlike Tony Kornheiser, I will wave the flag of sackcloth, the flag for not pride, but humility. Bye for now.